Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be talking about some stuff Lee Binding said in a recent YouTube video talking about the box sets. He was with Crystal D, who of course hosted the Doctor Who fan show and was unboxing some of their Doctor Who sets since they just got a Blu-ray player. And while the box sets were being unboxed, Lee was discussing with Crystal kind of some of the stuff about working on the Blu-ray box sets. And there was some pretty interesting things he said. I've always liked Lee Binding. He's my favorite Doctor Who artist. He's one of my favorite artists, period. I think he does phenomenal work. He has a really good sense of humor and seems like a really good person, so I just always like the guy. And I'm always fascinated when he talks about the Doctor Who box sets. So we're going to talk about some of the things he mentioned in the video. And one is that season 12 and 19 were actually being worked on at the same time. They were commissioned at the same time. So it wasn't just 12 and then 19. He got the go-ahead for both at the same time. And then when he was doing 12, he was really, of course, still trying to figure out the layout for how he wanted to do everything. He was just kind of given, okay, the Doctor at the front kind of looking at the camera with the enemies on the cover. So he was kind of figuring out how he wanted to make that work. He actually did one version of the season 12 cover that instead of in purple, it was in orange. He was, again, trying to figure out what he wanted to do with it. And I believe, actually, when the season first came out, he posted the orange one so you could see it. And he mentions in the video it looked terrible. It was terrible. It didn't look good. Which, to be fair, it didn't look as good. He said the orange one didn't look good at all. And that's why they went with the purple one. It just looked so much better. He mentions in there that he usually does the cover first. The front cover is usually the first thing he does in a box set. Because there's actually, I think a lot of times people lose just how much he does of these, because it's not just the front cover, it's everything in the box set. He does all of the artwork in those box sets. That's a lot of stuff. But the first thing he usually does when he starts on one is that front cover, the very first thing you see. He said there's usually 25 pieces of artwork for each one. 25 pieces of artwork he has to do for each one. That is a lot. And then it usually takes him about 3 months a set. He spends on average, about 3 months on each box set. That's a lot of art. 25 pieces of art. Let's see, what else? He mentions the possibility of a wilderness years, because he's talking about, when he talks about the flap with the TARDIS on it, which of course opens to the booklet, he starts talking about, okay, season 12 just had the time vortex in it, like Tom Baker's intro, and then after that, they start incorporating scenes from different stories. He's like, okay, once he realized that, he's like, okay, how do I do this 26 times or 27 times if we could do a wilderness years set? He actually mentions that, if we get to do a wilderness years set. So, of course, it's on his mind, the possibility of a wilderness years set, which isn't surprising. Lee Binding is a big Doctor Who fan. He's very, of course, very familiar with all of Doctor Who, of course, including the wilderness years. So he knows the demand is there for a wilderness years box set, which to me thinks the people above him have to know. He's probably mentioned it to it. Hey, everybody's going to want a wilderness years box set. So the people above him who make those decisions have to know that the desire for a wilderness years set is there to get all of that stuff between 1990 and 2004 in a box set so we can consume it, basically, is there. So the possibility is there for that happening, I think. And I love the fact he even mentions it in the video, if we get to do one. The fact he mentions that out loud. So he definitely knows, and that means the people above him definitely have to know. So I'm excited about that. So hopefully we'll get a wilderness years box set. He talks about how the TARDIS doors get more intricate and how they have, from where the TARDIS opens up to the booklet, the flaps, how they've gotten more detailed and more intricate as these sets have progressed, which is something I've noticed and find fascinating. I mean, the artwork for those sometimes looks better than the scenes they're representing in the episodes. Mentions that the disc art is usually the last thing he does. So when he's working on the sets, the actual disc art because, of course, in the US they all have the same disc art, which is basically the cover is terrible. But of course, on the UK versions, they all have the individual disc art per story, and that's usually the last thing he works on a box set. And of course, he mentions that the TARDIS is usually on the bonus disc. Not always. He said there are exceptions to it, but usually the TARDIS is on the bonus disc. It takes about 3 months per set. We talked about that. Oh, he did talk about how the image doesn't quite spill over to the spine anymore. Again, on the flap with the TARDIS on it that opens up to the booklet. On some of the earlier sets, the art from that would spill over onto the inner spine. The season 10 one, of course, is the first one that really comes to mind with the greenage and the foliage spilling over into the spine. But you know, some of the others like season 18 do that as well, where you see the art bleed over. Apparently it's just really hard to get that to line up properly. It's just so much more work to get that to, well, work, that they kind of don't do that anymore. So the art's just kind of confined to the flaps now. It doesn't spill over to the spine anymore. He did address that. He did mention that season 25 will have McCoy in a less playful mood, but not as serious as season 26. He really wants to show the journey McCoy goes on, because you'll notice the season 26 box set very much has, you know, the chess master McCoy look, that very serious, stern McCoy look. But season 24, of course, has that very playful Time in the Ronnie 7th Doctor on the cover. So he has that more silly, playful look on his face, you know, that kind of grown child look on his face, really. He said basically the season 25 one will be somewhere in between that. So less playful, but not as serious. So you can actually line the sets up and kind of see the journey McCoy's Doctor goes on from 24 to 25 to 26. And he doesn't mention what he'll be holding. He's like, of course he'll be holding something, but what? So we don't know yet. He did mention in season 24 he had to do the spoons. He's actually a big 7th Doctor fan, I believe. I think that's one of his favorite Doctors. The way he was talking in the videos, he kind of started, I think, with the 5th Doctor and, you know, watched the 6th Doctor, but he mentions how the 7th Doctor is kind of that one he really, I think, fell in love with. So he's a big fan of the McCoy era. At least from what I was gathering the way he was talking, which I love the McCoy era myself. He does mention that he tries to represent every episode in the box set in one way or another, to where, like, if he uses one for the cover, he doesn't want to use it in a different spot. He'd rather use a different episode. And I don't think this is always 100% the case, but you do notice it when you start thinking about it. Season 17, of course, to me is like the biggest one I noticed. Like, the front cover is very, of course, City of Death. So the back cover is Creature from the Pit. And then the TARDIS flap where it opens is Horns of Nimon. And then you see the cover of the booklet, and it's Destiny of the Daleks. So, you know, if he's doing one specific episode on the cover, he wants to do something else on the back cover, or something else on the flap where the TARDIS doors open, something else on the booklet. Now that's not, again, exceptions to the rule, that's not everything, but he does mention that's kind of how he likes to do it overall, because he does like to represent all the different stories on there as much as he can, which I thought was pretty cool. You know, I enjoy, even in season 26, the discs themselves, they're kind of has the red ball on the end of the sword from Battlefield in there. That's what the discs are. Took me a long time to catch on to that. He mentions that he usually has 4 at work at once. He's mentioned that before, and that, like, right now he had 4 different ones he was working on. He has one that's almost finished. I think he just got the discount for that. That's almost done. And we'll come back to that in a minute. He has one that he says that he's been working on a while. He said it's been on the schedule for a while, and that he's been picking at it a bit. That's got to be season 20, especially since we're all pretty sure season 20 will be the one after the next one, and that we're pretty sure we'll get it around summer of 2023, unless something happens to delay it. The fact he mentions that one that's been on the schedule for a while, he's just kind of tweaking. Gotta be season 20. It's the only thing that makes sense. So I'm really confident we're getting season 20 in 2023. I'm like 99% sure of that. And then he has another one he's working on that he says is just kind of coming together. Like he's like, man, I don't know. It just kind of, it wanted to be made. And it just kind of all fell together perfectly that he's working on. But he's got about 4 different ones he's in different stages of at the moment. And then he did mention on there that he wants more color and less gray on the covers moving forward. How like season 22 is more saturated in the background. It's less translucent. You know, there's less gray showing on than there are on like the other box sets. How it's more saturated. Same thing with the back of season 17. When it shows the creature from the pit bit, you know, it's more colored in. And even the back of season 22, the colors are much more saturated, much deeper. You don't really see the gray, you know, showing through them. He likes that look. He said the box sets are going to continue to do that moving forward, which I like. I like the colors being more saturated and deeper and seeing less gray behind them. So they're going to continue to do that moving forward, which I also really like. And then he did mention something else, not in the video. That was everything I think he covered in the video, which is a great video. I'll have to link it down in the description for people to watch. He did mention on Twitter the other, just yesterday, I think, from when I'm recording this, that the next box set, the predominant color on the box set, I believe the cover and the box set, is a deep purple. He showed like a little swatch. It's funny because if you're not thinking about it, you're just sitting there waiting for an image to load. It's just this swatch of a deep purple. So the next box set, that's going to be the main color theme for it, is a deep purple, which to me just screams season 9, which a lot of us think we're getting next anyway, because season 9, I know in the Mutants he has his little kind of purple cape, the cape with the purple on it. I know he has that little purple like sash, stole, whatever it is, wrapped around him right here in some episodes or some parts of Day of the Daleks. He's wearing that little purple stripe thing right here. And then the Curse of Peladon, the people on Peladon, the royal, you know, the royal people, the king and the people who attend the king are all wearing purple. Purple's a very royal color, so they're in purple. Matter of fact, the DVD case for Curse of Peladon was predominantly purple. So I associate purple with season 9. And since we're already pretty sure we're getting season 9, that seems to be the popular theory, it fits. So whenever we get the announcement, probably November 23rd, the one I'm expecting is season 9, and I expect the trailer to drop on November 23rd. We'll see. And it's going to be purple. That seems to be the biggest news coming out, is that purple is going to be the running color throughout it. So that's pretty cool. So it's always nice to hear Lee Binding talk about the box sets, be it on Twitter, be it in videos. I always enjoy when he does that. I wish he'd do more stuff with his YouTube channel. He does actually have a YouTube channel. I really wish he'd, you know, post videos basically teasing us about the box set stuff more. That'd be cool. So I'd like to know what you think, and if you want to watch that video with him and Crystal D, I'll link that in the description below. Other things to do, click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do, there's a link to that down in the description below as well. It helps me pay the bills, and I appreciate it. I want to give a shout out to Stephen Crane and Colin Coney. I appreciate their continued support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. I also have an Amazon wish list. If there's anything you'd like to send me, a link to that's down in the description below, as is a link to my Amazon UK wish list. And my P.O. box is down there as well. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.